Imagine standing in a firing squad in Nazi-occupied Eastern Europe, the cold wind biting at your face as you look down the line at the terrified civilians in front of you. The order is shouted, "Shoot them." Your heart races, your hands shake on the rifle, and every instinct screams that this is wrong. Yet, all around you, your fellow soldiers raise their weapons without hesitation. But what if one soldier steps back, lowers his weapon, and says no? In a world dominated by fear, obedience, and the merciless machinery of the Third Reich, saying no could mean certain death, or at least that's what most people assume. Yet history reveals that some German soldiers, officers, and policemen did find the courage to refuse, and their stories challenge our understanding of obedience, morality, and survival in one of history's darkest periods. During World War II, it was widely believed among German soldiers, members of the SS and SD, and police personnel that every order from a superior had to be obeyed without question. Disobeying could lead to execution, imprisonment, or endangerment of one's family. Historians long assumed that the coercive power of the Nazi regime made refusal nearly impossible. Yet research has uncovered evidence that it was, in fact, possible to resist without facing the ultimate punishment, though it often carried grave risks. Historian David Kitterman meticulously examined post-war investigations and trial records held in German state archives and the Central Office for the Investigation of National Socialist Crimes in Ludwigsburg. He documented over 100 verified cases where German personnel refused to shoot unarmed civilians or prisoners. Of these, at least 85 cases have been confirmed, shedding light on acts of resistance that defied the machinery of terror. Kitterman's work not only details the consequences these individuals faced, but also explores their motivations, the methods they employed, and the legal and personal factors that shaped their decisions. Dr. Albert Battel, a lawyer and reserve major in the German army, provides a remarkable example. In July 1942, in the city of Przemysl, the SS and security police prepared to carry out what was presented as a resettlement of Jews, a euphemism for mass execution. Battel, born in 1891 in Upper Silesia and a Catholic, had previously faced denunciation within the Nazi Party for helping a Jewish colleague financially. Despite the risks, Battel took decisive action. He persuaded his superior officer, Major Liedtke, to issue an order placing Jewish workers employed by the Wehrmacht under military protection, ensuring they were fed, housed, and able to continue their work. When the SS attempted to bypass this protection, Battel personally blocked bridges across the river to prevent them from entering Przemysl and evacuated between 80 and 100 Jews from the ghetto to the army headquarters. While the intervention only temporarily delayed deportations, and the Jews were eventually handed over to the SS, Battel's actions demonstrated extraordinary courage. He faced complaints to Himmler, was reprimanded, and transferred to the front lines, yet survived the war and was later recognized by Israel as righteous among the nations. His story highlights that, even within a system designed for unquestioning obedience, moral courage could carve a space for humanity. Bernhard Griessy, another officer, employed a different strategy. Born in 1887 in Ribnitz and a retired major in the Schutzpolizei, Griessy was recalled to service when war broke out. In early 1941, he commanded a police battalion near Georgenberg and the Bialowieza forest. When asked by an SD officer to provide men for the execution of Jewish civilians, Griessy refused. He strictly adhered to military protocol, ordering his battalion to remain at headquarters unless officially commanded through proper channels. He traveled to Königsberg to secure written confirmation, effectively blocking the SD's request. As a result, the SS carried out the executions themselves, while Griessy and his men avoided participation. Despite the investigation that followed, he faced no serious consequences and was even awarded the Knight's Cross soon after. Griessy's case demonstrates how procedural knowledge and strict adherence to official channels could serve as tools of resistance, allowing officers to navigate the fine line between duty and conscience. Similar acts occurred across the Ordnungspolizei and Schutzpolizei units, illustrating that refusal to participate in atrocities was not entirely isolated. One particularly notable case involved two Waffen-SS officers in Poland shortly after the German invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941. Friedrich Dern, commander of the Begleitbataillon Reichsführer SS, received orders to send a company to a designated point for executions of Jews and Poles. The company's leader, 2nd Lieutenant Schreiber, reported that part of his unit had been forced to take part in mass killings and declared he would not participate further, nor compel his soldiers to do so. Dern immediately reported the refusal to the SS leadership office in Berlin, stating that his battalion would no longer be used for executions. Berlin dissolved the battalion, reassigned its companies to other regiments, and Dern himself faced only a reprimand. He was later promoted, demonstrating that in some cases, moral refusal could coexist with survival and even career advancement within the Nazi military hierarchy. These instances reveal a tension between the totalitarian expectation of obedience and the human capacity for moral judgment. Individuals like Battel, Grisi, and Dern faced enormous pressure, yet found ways to protect innocent lives. Their strategies varied. Some used bureaucratic channels and legal technicalities to avoid participation, others employed direct intervention, and still others refused outright, risking reprisal. Despite the myth that no German soldier could defy orders, these cases prove otherwise. What united these acts was not a sophisticated understanding of international law, but a fundamental recognition of human dignity and the moral imperative to prevent harm. Battel's intervention in Przemysl exemplifies the personal courage required to act against systemic evil. By blocking access to the ghetto and temporarily protecting Jews employed by the military, he demonstrated that one individual, leveraging authority and initiative, could disrupt the machinery of genocide, even if only briefly. His Catholic faith and prior experiences, such as lending money to a Jewish colleague at personal risk, suggest a deeply held moral compass guiding his decisions. In a society where adherence to Nazi ideology could dictate life and death, Battel's actions remind us that conscience was not entirely extinguished by coercion or indoctrination. Similarly, Grisi's adherence to military protocol illustrates another form of resistance. By refusing to allow his battalion to participate without explicit written orders, he exploited the rigidity of the bureaucratic system to shield his men from complicity in murder. This case underscores the importance of understanding institutional rules and using them strategically to protect human life. Grisi did not confront the SS directly in violence, but wielded the rules themselves as a shield. In doing so, he preserved both the lives of his men and their moral integrity. The case of Dern and Schreiber highlights the risks and consequences of direct refusal within the Waffen-SS, an organization notorious for its ideological commitment to genocide. Their decision to report the atrocities and refuse further participation led to the dissolution of their battalion and reassignment of its members. Yet, Dern faced no severe punishment and continued his military career. This suggests a nuanced reality. While the Nazi regime demanded obedience, practical considerations, administrative complications, and the relative power of individual officers sometimes allowed space for defiance. It was not common, nor universally tolerated, but it was possible. Kitterman's research illuminates the broader context in which these refusals occurred. Many of the soldiers who said no did so quietly, using technicalities, procedural delays, or selective compliance to avoid direct involvement in killings. Others took bolder steps, directly confronting superiors or physically obstructing actions intended to harm civilians. Across these cases, common themes emerge: a willingness to risk personal safety, a deep sense of ethical responsibility, and a determination to preserve human life despite pervasive pressure to participate in atrocities. The documentation in archives, trial records, and post-war investigations provides a valuable counter-narrative to the assumption that all German personnel were automatons of violence. Instead, we see a spectrum of behavior, ranging from compliance to courageous refusal, revealing the moral complexity of individuals within a totalitarian system. These stories also highlight the limitations of Nazi authority. Even in an environment designed to eliminate dissent, bureaucratic procedures, gaps in command structures, and personal initiative created opportunities for moral agency. Battel, Grisi, and Dern each navigated the intricate machinery of orders, regulations, and hierarchical power to assert their humanity. Their actions demonstrate that the myth of absolute obedience under the Third Reich is not entirely accurate. Moral courage, strategic thinking, and personal conviction could, and did, intervene in life-and-death situations. The consequences faced by these soldiers varied. Battel was reprimanded and transferred, but survived the war, ultimately recognized as righteous among the nations. Grisi avoided serious punishment and continued his military career, even receiving honors. Dern faced only a reprimand and reassignment, continuing to rise through the ranks. These outcomes, while exceptional, reveal that the Nazi system's enforcement of obedience was neither uniform nor omnipotent. The individual's ability to resist often depended on a combination of bureaucratic acumen, personal authority, and the willingness to act decisively in the face of immense moral pressure. Equally important, these cases shed light on the psychological dimension of refusal. The soldiers who said no were not merely defying orders. They were making conscious ethical choices that required immense courage. Witnessing mass killings, standing before unarmed civilians, and choosing life over ideology demanded a moral clarity that was rare and profoundly difficult. Their stories remind us that in times of systemic evil, human conscience remains a powerful force, capable of shaping outcomes even within rigidly controlled societies. Through the lens of these individual acts, we gain a richer understanding of the moral landscape of Nazi Germany. While the regime orchestrated vast machinery of murder and terror, it did not entirely eliminate the possibility of personal agency. Soldiers like Battel, Grisi, and Dern show that saying no was possible, and that ethical action could coexist with survival, though it required careful navigation, courage, and an unwavering commitment to human life. Their examples challenge us to reconsider the assumptions about obedience, complicity, and moral courage in extreme circumstances. As we reflect on these cases, we are forced to confront difficult questions. What would we do in similar circumstances? Could we, under threat of punishment or death, refuse to harm innocent civilians? How do individuals navigate the tension between duty, survival, and conscience? The stories of Battel, Grisi, Dern, and others provide powerful answers, showing that even within systems designed to eradicate dissent, human moral agency can prevail. Their courage, creativity, and ethical resolve offer lessons that extend far beyond the historical context, reminding us that the capacity to act morally exists even in the darkest of times, and that individual choices, however small they may seem, can have profound consequences for life and justice. The courage of these soldiers and officers demonstrates that humanity can persist even in the heart of terror. They refused to participate in murder, leveraged bureaucratic procedures, employed legal technicalities, and in some cases confronted authority directly. Their acts were not without risk, and many faced reprimands, transfers, or career uncertainty. Yet they survived, and their stories endure as a testament to moral courage under extreme circumstances. These examples remind us that obedience is not inevitable, and that ethical choices can shape history, even amidst widespread complicity. The evidence collected by historians like Kitterman ensures that these acts are not forgotten. Archival records, trial transcripts, and post-war investigations provide detailed accounts of refusal and resistance, revealing patterns of moral decision-making. They highlight the interplay between personal conviction, bureaucratic maneuvering, and the courage to act in defiance of orders. Through these stories, we see that the narrative of universal compliance under the Nazi regime is incomplete. Individual moral agency persisted, and some people risked their lives to protect others from destruction. Even more, these cases illustrate the diversity of resistance. Some acted overtly, blocking access, evacuating civilians, or directly refusing orders. Others acted subtly, following protocol to avoid participation, delaying actions, or invoking technicalities. Both approaches achieved the same goal: preserving life in a world bent on destruction. The soldiers' motivations were deeply personal, rooted in religious belief, prior relationships, ethical principles, or simple compassion. These acts of refusal challenge the stereotype of a monolithic, unquestioning Wehrmacht or SS, showing that within the apparatus of genocide, pockets of humanity remained. By examining the actions of Battel, Grisi, and Dern, we learn that moral courage can manifest in many forms. The legalist who uses procedure to block atrocities, the decisive officer who physically intervenes to save lives, and the principled commander who refuses participation despite ideological indoctrination. Each story emphasizes that even within an oppressive system, individuals could make choices that mattered. Their bravery underscores a crucial point: that human conscience, though often tested and threatened, can endure and shape outcomes, even under totalitarian regimes. In the broader historical narrative, these instances of refusal are critical. They demonstrate that the machinery of the Holocaust, while horrifying in scale and efficiency, was not entirely immune to disruption. Individual decisions, when grounded in moral conviction, could could delay, prevent, or mitigate acts of mass murder. The legacy of these acts extends beyond their immediate impact. They provide enduring lessons about the capacity for ethical action, the importance of conscience, and the power of individual choice in shaping history. They also serve as a counterbalance to narratives that emphasize inevitability and universal complicity, reminding us that even in systems designed to crush humanity, acts of courage and morality are possible. In sum, the documented cases of refusal to kill in Nazi Germany challenge assumptions about obedience and complicity. From Dr. Albert Batel's direct intervention in Przemysl to Bernhard Griese's bureaucratic maneuvering and Friedrich Dürren's principled stand in Poland, these examples illustrate that individuals could and did resist. The consequences varied, from reprimands and reassignment to continued military careers, but the moral impact was profound. These acts of defiance underscore the enduring importance of conscience, the possibility of ethical action in extreme circumstances, and the remarkable courage required to prioritize humanity over orders. In exploring these stories, we uncover not only historical truths, but also timeless lessons about morality, courage, and the capacity for individuals to make a difference in the face of overwhelming evil. Despite his open defiance of SS directives, Friedrich Dürren faced no serious consequences and continued serving in high command positions throughout the war. Yet not every story of refusal ended so favorably. One of the most striking cases is that of Dr. Nikolaus Ernst Franz Hornig, a lawyer and first lieutenant in the Wehrmacht, who paid a steep personal price for refusing to execute Soviet prisoners of war. Hornig, who had previously served in the police before joining the army, was sent east as a platoon leader in October 1941. On November 1st, his battalion commander ordered him to execute 780 Russian POWs who had been separated from Stalag 325, to be shot in a small forest between Lublin and Lviv. Hornig refused. He explained to his commander that as a lawyer, a Catholic, and an army officer, he could not participate in such a crime. Gathering his men, he informed them that shooting defenseless prisoners was not only illegal but morally reprehensible, reminiscent of the methods used by the Soviet GPU. None of his men took part in the killings, though they were ordered to guard the perimeter. Hornig's refusal drew swift retaliation. He was recalled to Germany in May 1942 and arrested by order of the SS and police court chief, Josias zu Waldeck. His charge was not disobedience per se, but undermining military morale, Wehrkraftsversetzung, because his actions might encourage others to refuse orders. His first trial in November 1942 sentenced him to 3 to 4 years, and a second trial in March 1945 extended it to 6 or 7 years. Hornig spent the remainder of the war imprisoned in Buchenwald concentration camp, though ironically, he was treated unusually well for a detainee. He kept his officers' rank and pay, and his detention was officially investigative arrest rather than punishment. Himmler reportedly considered the sentences too lenient because Hornig's refusal relied on German military law. In essence, Hornig was imprisoned not for refusing to kill, but for teaching his soldiers that military law allowed them to reject illegal orders. Historian David Kitterman investigated 85 cases of refusal across all levels of the German armed forces and security apparatus, from generals and Waffen-SS officers to enlisted men and party officials. The reasons for refusal varied. Almost half of the cases did not state a reason. About a quarter were based on conscience. 15 invoked the illegality of the orders, while others cited emotional distress, role limitations, or political disadvantages. In over half of these documented instances, individuals refused directly, sometimes formally protesting to superiors to protect themselves from future involvement. Some relied on moral, religious, or psychological justifications, claiming the killings violated military or international law, or invoking the Geneva Convention. Others faked illness, incompetence, or madness to avoid participation. Officers, who made up roughly 2/3 of successful refusals, often benefited from knowledge of legal procedures and the military hierarchy, demanding court documents, legal proof, or transfers to combat units to evade execution duties. Some hid during shootings, claimed logistical problems, or even threatened force when coerced into acting as executioners. The pattern of refusal is reflected in Christopher Browning's book, Ordinary Men, detailing Reserve Police Battalion 101 in Poland. Under Major Wilhelm Trapp, the battalion was ordered to round up 1,800 Jews of Józef. while able-bodied men were sent to labor camps near Lublin. Women, children, and the elderly were to be executed on the spot. One officer, Lieutenant Heinz Buchmann, a 38-year-old Hamburg businessman and reservist, refused to participate in the shootings. He requested another assignment and was reassigned to escort the men selected for forced labor instead. Remarkably, before the massacre began, Trapp offered all men a chance to step aside. Only a dozen accepted, while the rest carried out the killings, highlighting that, even in a unit executing mass murder, some soldiers could refuse without immediate reprisal. The broader consequences of refusal were often surprisingly mild. In the 85 cases Kitterman examined, not a single documented individual lost their life solely for refusing to kill. More than half faced no negative consequences at all. Reprimands, threats of transfer to the front, or minor disciplinary actions occurred in a dozen cases, as did unit reassignment or transfer back to Germany. Only one individual, Hornig, was sent to a concentration camp, and that was not for refusing to shoot, but for encouraging his men to reject illegal orders. Some officers faced demotion, forced resignation, or secondary assignments. Combat duty, house arrest, or the breakup of a unit were rare but real consequences. Severe punishment did occur in a few cases, though historians sometimes debate the details. Joseph Schultz, a soldier in the 714th Infantry Division, was allegedly shot alongside Yugoslav civilians after refusing to participate in their execution, though the historical accuracy remains disputed. Otto Schimek, an Austrian soldier, reportedly faced execution for refusing to kill Polish civilians and became a symbol of pacifism and Austrian opposition to Nazism, though some argue this account lacks credible evidence. In the occupied Netherlands, a Luftwaffe soldier who refused to execute Dutch resistance fighters did not survive, highlighting the occasional fatal risks of defiance. These cases reveal a spectrum of possibilities within Nazi Germany's military machinery. Some individuals successfully evaded participation through formal, procedural, or legal channels. Others acted boldly, risking imprisonment or death. The stories illustrate that moral courage could coexist with survival, that even under a regime designed to enforce total compliance, there were cracks through which humanity could shine. Officers like Hornig, Buchmann, and others demonstrate that ethical decisions, grounded in conscience, law, or faith, were not only possible but made a tangible difference in the lives of innocents. The refusal of these individuals challenges the assumption that obedience under the Nazis was absolute. It shows that ethical agency persisted, even amidst coercion, indoctrination, and widespread complicity. Soldiers and officers could, and did, make choices that altered the course of events, protected civilians, and preserved their own moral integrity. Their actions illuminate a complex moral landscape where courage, ingenuity, and conscience could mitigate the machinery of destruction. Above all, these stories remind us that human morality is resilient. Even within the rigid structures of totalitarianism, individual choices matter. The men who refused to kill, whether through direct action, bureaucratic maneuvering, or strategic avoidance, demonstrated that ethics could survive where it seemed impossible. Their courage resonates beyond history, offering lessons about conscience, responsibility, and the enduring power of moral action, even under the most extreme circumstances.